Hey everybody, it's Chris Loud. Today I'm going to show you how I created this abstract painting very quickly and then turned it into greeting cards. So first I will show you the painting demo, and then after that I will show you how I created all of these cards. If you are here just for the cards, you can jump ahead and check that out. Otherwise,
I'm starting this abstract piece with a marker, which I'll use a few times in here for the background. I'm using yellow ochre, Naples yellow, cerulean blue, Prussian blue, titanium white, and Mars black for my paints. And really I had no idea what I was doing here. I just made some marks and just started reacting to this. I did this painting thinking, originally I was not planning on making cards with this painting. I was just warming up and having fun. But after I looked at it when it was done, I thought overall I wasn't super fond of the painting, but I figured I'd do something with it. There were some parts of it that I liked, so I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to cut it up, and then thought, well, let's make some cards. The green I have there, I forgot to mention that. I believe that was a hooker's green. Just taking some homemade collage paper and finding some place to lay that down to make a little more interest on this painting. And those of you that have watched some of my videos know I like to make a mess on the background and then kind of clean it up and cover it up and do some other things. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, is just trying to make some interesting visuals on the background, and then take a mix of the Naples yellow, yellow ochre, and white, and start covering some of that up and using a brayer to thin that down. The markers that I used were alcohol based, so you can see the red is starting to show through still with this paint. I think I put enough down over the areas where there's the black marks, the black marker, that it was covered up, and you really didn't see that anymore. I did cover that with a little of the blue, and then again covering it with this mix of yellows and white. That did cover that up, but the red did kind of show through, which was kind of nice. I liked the way that looked. So again, just playing and having fun and kind of reacting to what I'm seeing. At one point I do bring the red marker back out and touch up a few of those marks there, those kind of spots I have in the upper left. But again, just putting a mat down, checking things out, seeing if I have a direction that I'm headed. And at this point I kind of did. I was expecting this one to not be a super engaging painting, and I did this on a 15-minute timer, so I was kind of against the clock to try and do this and finish it. It was a warm-up. So here's where I'm putting down and touching a few more of those marks, and I'll show you the final painting, and then we'll jump into making cards. So here's kind of what it looks like with the mat, and again, just reacting. It's great to have these mats to put over and kind of see what it looks like without all the noise of the tape and paint that's kind of on the sides. So here's the final painting, and we'll jump into the cards.
Okay, so I have my painting pulled out of the sketchbook. The card I'm going to be doing, the size of this is 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm going to try and leave about a 1/4 inch around the painting itself for the card that I cut out. So I'm not going to cut a 5.5, I'm going to cut a 5 inch by, let's see, 4.25. I need 1/4 on each side, so 3.25 inches. So I'm going to cut a 5 by 3.25 inch piece of this painting, actually 4 pieces of this painting, although I'm toying with the idea of doing just 3. I'll show you that. So this is the back of one I've already cut out, just as kind of a viewfinder. And this is my template that I use to cut around. And this is 5 by 3 3/4, excuse me. And you can see that I've already put card template on there because I have enough cardboard around here. I will throw it away. Matter of fact, I probably need to put a big piece of tape on that or something. But anyway, this will give me an idea of what that looks like. So I've already marked the halfway point here. So this is 5 inches, this is 5 inches, because this is a 10-inch by 8-inch piece of paper here. So I'm going to use this to just kind of take a look and see. So that's how one card would look. This is how the other card would look about. I have a little bit of leeway to move it up and down if I want, but I actually like that. I like this stripes down here as well. It's a little different than the other cards. Then I have this up here, and I have this up here. So those would be 4 cards. Now the great thing about these, there's not a lot going on with this section here. It's something I could cut and then paint more into it if I wanted to. Or I could do, this is what this looks like. But I think I would rather cut this because to me this is a little bit more of an engaging card. So I think I'm going to do 1 here and then 2 here. And then this will just be left over. I'll use that for some mixed media pieces later. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll cut one of these out real quick. And I'm going to move this whiteboard out of here so I can cut on wood. So more of that. And like I said, I already have a couple of marks here. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a quick line across so I have somewhere to work. And the great thing is if you use a pencil, kind of a lighter pencil, you know, an H, or you know, in the lighter pencils, you can see it's a very, if you can see it, it's a very light line, and it's something I can erase if any of that shows up on the card later. So I'm going to just take this, and I kind of want to make sure that I'm getting all of that square in there. So about right there. And you might not be able to see that line, but I can see it just enough that I can line up and make the cut. So we're looking at about right, make sure I'm on the edge, right about there. So I'm going to take my exacto knife and I'm going to carefully cut around my template. I'm going to try and work that out a little bit. I need to cut through a little bit better. There we go. And do this side. And this, I mean, for me, you know, this doesn't have to be perfect. I personally like having a homemade card that looks a little homemade. So if you want it to be perfect, I mean, you know, use what you have. You can, I could just use scissors actually, and probably would do just as well. I would just have to kind of line that up. And this one has a little strip of collage paper. There we go. So that's what I've got for that. Now, for the rest of it, I'm just going to take some scissors real quick and cut that down. But I don't mind if there's a little bit, if you know the cuts aren't perfect on the card. I think that, again, that's kind of my own preference. I think it looks kind of nice. to show that this is a homemade card. But that's, excuse me, that is kind of what that will look like, either like that, or you can figure out the orientation, how you want it, or if the card's going to be vertical, which I like that. So I'll go ahead and finish cutting these down, and I'll come back and we'll glue this, glue these pieces down here. Okay, I'm back and I've got all of these cut, so you can see this is what this card will look like when I glue it down. I'll show you the other two. Again, this is all just from the same warm-up painting on paper. Kind of like it that way. It's vertical, and this one almost kind of reminds me of like an abstract landscape with a bit of a sunset. Anyway, these are the three that I cut out of that painting that I just did. I'm using these cards that I ordered, and I'll put a link in the description, but they come as one sheet. You can actually put them through a printer. You can print your web address or any information you want on these cards, and then they are already creased, so you can just fold them. And then they also come with 100 of these envelopes. So you get 100 of these cards and 100 of these envelopes, and I think I paid somewhere around, I think it was like $21, $22, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I glue these down. I'll just do one of these real quick. And I'm going to be using acrylic gel medium, and I'm using matte. I don't think it really matters too much how if you use gloss or matte on this. But I'm just going to start off by getting a thin layer of this down on the back of this card. Now, I'm using, in this particular sketchbook, I was using its 98-pound paper. And so it will buckle a little bit when you put this down. And I will show you, actually I need to get some of that up before I put this down. I'll show you what I do, how I press it afterwards. But basically, just find that kind of center point, and you have a little bit of time to actually readjust. Again, I'm not too worried about it being 100% perfect. I think there is something to having a card look homemade. But if you're a perfectionist, by all means, do this a little more carefully than I'm doing it. I'm going to take my cutouts wedge and start really pressing that glue and pressing this card down. That'll give you an idea of areas that you need to apply a little bit more. And this area down here, I think the main reason that's giving me a little bit of a hard time is because there is a little bit of collage paper right here. But you got that down, and you can just take your finger. This dries clear, this gel, so it's not too big of a deal. But what I'm going to do is grab some parchment paper or cooking sheets, and I've already cut these just for this purpose. But if you lay that over, any of the gel medium that is seeped through is not going to stick to that paper. And I happen to have a weight that I use to press in my studio. However, you can just put a couple of books on there. We'll be fine. You can just leave it like that. And I usually leave this for at least 15 minutes. Sometimes I'll do a few of these cards, and you can just stack them up. You can put another card on top of that parchment paper, another piece of parchment paper, and just stack them. I wouldn't go too high, but then just leave it. And I'll probably leave this for half an hour or so after I'll glue these other two cards down and press them, and then come back and show you a little bit more. Okay, so these are now pressed. One thing I didn't mention before is that make sure that whatever you're pressing them on, the surface is flat. This has a little bit of warp to it, so I ended up moving these over to a flat table and pressing them there, and just brought them back over. So I'll kind of show you how these turned out. So there's 1, 2, and here's the third card. And what I do next is I take one of the envelopes, and then I also got these little cellophane sleeves that you can put these everything in. I think you get 100 of those for, I think it was like $6, something like that. I'll put a link to that as well if you want to see that. Slide the envelope in, slide the card in, like that, and it's got the tape you can seal. You can put your card or anything else in here if you want, but then you have a nice professional looking card. One thing I didn't mention was signing. If you want to, sign your cards, here's one I did earlier that I did sign here, and this is just me practicing with a jelly plate. I just thought it looked kind of cool. But I use these for a lot of the warm-up paintings I do that don't really turn out that I don't like. You'll find little areas that that look nice. So just to keep that in mind for some of the paintings you have laying around. You could do original, some nice original artwork and cards for those. Something else is that you might wonder about is varnishing. These are not varnished. However, if you do, I would tell you to do either a spray varnish, which I'm not real fond of, or a very, very light layer of varnish. And I would varnish the painting before you cut it. Don't varnish on here. That's really going to show up. But this would look good with a nice gloss varnish as well. But these are kind of nice. Like I said, when the cards the way they come, you could scan your paintings, your original artwork, or take a picture of them and then print them out directly on these cards, possibly, depending on what kind of printer you have, or make a print and then cut those out and do what we did here and just fix them with some gel medium, and you can have a whole host of cards. So so that's basically it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of these, feel free to subscribe. So thanks for watching, and keep on painting.